Hello, everyone. No Life here, and today I'll be going over my suggested changes to Nancy, which, let's be honest here, is a full-on rework. I tried to dance around Nancy needing a rework for some time now, but it gets to the point where sometimes you have to take a step back and say, buddy, you're halfway on copium here. Let it go. So, from my, geez, at this point, a year of experience playing Nancy and playing against her, I've devised quite a few things that I'd love to see changed around with Nancy in order to put her in a place where people will not dodge when they see you use her. Just effectively declare that she's the worst family member out there. So, starting from, I guess what the way I usually start these things is going to be straight up her ability. The problems I have with Nancy's ability is the fact that you can't cancel out of it once you use it. I've had multiple situations as and against Nancy, especially where you see her using her ability and she's just locked in that animation of her actually seeing the victim combined with the stun after it to the point that you get put into a lot of awkward situations where maybe you caught a glimpse of a victim the last second before you activate it and now you're stuck in an animation. And they could do a number of things to you, whether that be completely run away from you, leave you looking stupid, or in this awful situation here, just get stabbed in the back by Anna, and just it feels like I'm just in a horror movie. I just see it coming. There's nothing I can do to stop her from just bending me over there. And then there's just even worse situations where someone literally gets an objective done in your face because, again, you're stuck in animation and sheesh, I just really feel bad for the Nancy having a clip here. She literally watched Connie pull the fuse box in front of her, and I'm sure she ended up escaping. So they really need to add the ability for you to cancel out of Nancy's spy ability early. This would also have the benefit of her saving some of her power, as unlike Cook and Johnny, her bar needs to be completely full to use it. So at the rate of which it decays when you're using it, I don't think it'd be too annoying for her to be able to get her ability back a little sooner as a result of her, again, canceling out of the power sooner because either she changed her mind or she got the information she needs. This would be super effective with her duration add-ons, as you are spying for so long, you might have definitely more than got the information you need to the point that I don't even bother running the duration, as generally being able to spot them longer is not very useful when you have clear eyes on, which, speaking of which, I said it a while ago in a family rework video, but I'm going to say it again here now. That needs to be base kick. And in place of clear eyes being base kick, her level 3 ability should give her the power to just straight up see auras of the victims that she outlined. Now, this wouldn't be useful for Nancy, as she'd be the one spying on him, but this would be useful for other family members, as they'd be able to see those auras and know who you're spying on without you having to actually open your mouth and say something, which again will bridge the gap of solo queue and parties. As let's be honest, most people you see use Nancy never talk, and it's one of the things that really makes Nancy so bad. When you do see her, they aren't saying who they're spying on, so her information's useless. You just have to kind of fall in like a puppy dog and hope she's actually leading you to that person. Otherwise, again, it's just useless information. And besides all that, for the most part, I think all of Nancy's level abilities in the ability tree are fine. They maybe could switch some stuff out for some barbed wire stuff, as this is something Hans does. His tree works for both his barbed wire. I'm sorry, it works for both his electric traps and his barge ability, as well as the actual rip stall. So they can maybe double that up with Nancy. Otherwise, they could just have perks affected kind of like what they have now, and of course Cook, where his padlocks only are buffed through his security pins, which is the only thing you can really augment with the padlocks. I feel like they could give Cook more unique perks to make his padlocks do more than just, lock doors, but that's for a different video entirely. So another thing they could also add, either base kit or as an ability, is for Nancy to not be stunned coming out of her power. I personally don't see what the purpose of the stun is besides Nancy not being able to immediately chase people she spied on. Which again, if they're across the map, the stun's not gonna change the fact that she still has to walk to them. So the stun just doesn't do anything but make her the ability for awkward and again more clunky to use. Again, whether you do it as a level 3 ability or base kit, I think that this would be something that definitely needs to be in Nancy's kit one way or another. So I feel like with a lot of these changes here, this would shore up a lot of the issues with Nancy's spy ability, make it feel a lot less clunky. They also should maybe either buy a perk or add-on allow her to reload from the stations faster, as well as it takes her way too long to reload those stations. And unlike Sissy, she doesn't have anything that allows her to reload faster in game. So another thing I also want to mention is going to be her other two level 3 options, which is going to be to detect victims from either further away or closer. I've tried those vigorously, and it still doesn't do a good job of helping you control what victims you see, as, again, it doesn't count geometry, so victims in basements could be considered close to you because they're, again, technically going by, meters away from you or whatever, they're closer to you, even though, you have to go to the basement to actually get to them, so they're technically further. You get situations where you're outside the family house trying to find a victim hiding out by the battery. Instead, you go find on in the basement, and it does nothing. You could be trying to find someone farther away for some reason, detecting somebody right next to you in the bush. It just, again, or again in the basement, it just does not work the way it seems. Again, if we're afraid to make her not have a stun base kit, those are definitely two candidates for being completely deleted and changed with something else. Moving on from her spy, I'll get into the barbed wire a little later. I want to first go into Nancy's stats herself, as the barbed wire thing is going to make up a good portion of the video. So we can stop for a second to do something a little quicker, and that's going to be Nancy's attributes. So much like all the other Fed members, Nancy does not have an an even distribution of attributes across all her stats. For victims, they have 25 per category, which usually totals up to 125. For some reason, the Florises and Danny have 130, so they have extra 5 attribute points into the stats, which I don't know why they have them doing it. Danny, a DLC character, so that just screams paid to win. Anna, at least she has some bad stats. The only thing she really has going for her is toughness and strength, but still, she could lose the 5 points. And Santa Maria, who I still puzzled as to why she has the exact same attributes as Anna. I don't feel like you need to rub it into their sisters by giving them the same attributes. But again, I've went over that a million times. I'm not doing it again here. So Nancy has around, I believe my math is correct here, 68 attribute points split up into her categories. That needs to be changed. So if it were up to me, I'd be upgrading Nancy's harvesting to 35 by adding again 2 extra points to it. And then I put our endurance up to 20 from 15. I feel like with these extra points into all of her categories here, this would make Nancy by default feel a lot better to play, as well as, again, with you putting some points into her other stats, especially with Unrelenting, you'd be able to actually get Nancy's endurance up to 50, as her and Cook are like the only characters that can't get their endurance up to 50 no matter where you go in a tree. Now, I originally wanted to do Nancy's savagery instead of her endurance, but upon playing Nancy, I've noticed that one major issue you have with her is if you get into any situation where you spy a victim at an objective and you need to run pretty far to stop them, 9 times out of 10, the only thing that really stops you from getting them is the fact that you're so low on endurance, you can't even swing at them to smack them off the objective, or you just have to take pauses to catch up on your stamina, and rinse and repeat from what I just last said. So by her having some more endurance, of course you still would have to put into it, but at least it give you a good base to where whatever you put into it again ensures that you stop victims from getting out from objective that someone else would have been able to stop, like Leatherface especially. Her having her harvesting, I put that to 35 just because for those of you who know, if you use Universal Donor, 35 is enough for you to be able to get Grandpa up one level just from 3 blood buckets. So that'd be great to have by base. And of course, you just put another extra 3 in, and then you'd be able to get Nancy to 38, which allow you to feed Grandpa one level from 4 buckets without doing a run. Now, I believe that is about it for attributes. I don't think there's really anything else to really go into there. Sure, it'd be nice for Nancy to have higher savagery, as of course, the more damage the better. But in my opinion, Nancy isn't just a support character. She's her desired playstyle, I say, is to be an obstacle. I feel like with Nancy, your main goal with using her is just to get in the victim's way. You want to really do everything you can to slow down the victims and again stop them from escaping, whether that be spying on them and making them think twice about going a certain way. You just physically being there to make them again not want to go pressure their objective, or of course you using your traps to add a bit of area denial or slow them down, force them to use resources to again deal with her traps. And with that, we go seamlessly into her traps. So one of the major issues with Nancy's traps is hands down going to be just a ridiculous amount of time it takes to set up her traps. This, by base, is like 3 seconds longer than it takes for a hitchhiker to set up his traps. Again, base kit, no add-ons to speed up the placement time. That is ridiculous, and I don't care how strong her traps can be when stepped at it, it does not justify it taking that long for you to set up those traps. It's the same thing for replacing the traps after they've been disarmed or tripped. Again, it takes like 8 seconds to do that, whereas Hitchhiker is like 3, maybe 5 seconds. Never mind the fact that even Hitchhiker with his placement traps needs to be able to speed up the replacement time when he has those add-ons on. And Nancy needs that treatment too, and her stats for placement traps need to match Hitchhiker's. I want to say Hans' trap placement times is around the same as Hitchhiker's, but regardless, those things need to be shored up as you could argue Hitchhiker's traps are as strong, if not stronger, than Nancy, especially since Hitchhiker puts traps just about everywhere, where Nancy's is only doorways and gaps, and of course crawl spaces. So that's something that definitely needs to be changed, so her traps don't feel so crappy to put up. Now, again, these can be, besides the base kit numbers, they should be able to be adjusted in a number of ways, whether that's by doing so in her skill tree and changing things around. I could already say that the cooldown delay things are something that could be on a chopping block as well as the duration. So those would be at least four things that could be completely removed and changed around for some geez, trap placement times. Now we also have the damage her traps do. The damage Nancy's traps do is pathetic. It does about 5 points of damage. Hitchhikers again does 15. I'm not sure if her traps damage you multiple times every time you go through a gap. Maybe that might be their justification for why they do only 5 points of damage, but nonetheless, I still feel like her trap should do at least 15 points of damage. Now she has perks that increases the damage, but again, no matter how high 30 points of I'm sorry, 30% extra damage or whatever with Herdom is, I'm sorry, 50% extra damage. I'm looking at it right now. 50% of 5 is what, 2.5? That's not doing anything. Who cares if it does 7.5 damage? That's so little damage. Not even Sunny cares about getting hit with 7.5 damage with his 99 points of health. That is nothing. It's laughable. Base Kid Sissy hits harder than 5%. Sorry, 5 points of damage. Like it's just so like laughable that like phrases have to have this stuff right. You know, it's just like a complete joke. I don't know who shipped her out with these ridiculous numbers to her traps with this placement times to the damage that you take from tripping them. Hell, even the time it takes to disarm her traps is laughable to the point that I don't think Bomb Squad speeds up how fast you disarm Nancy's trap at level 3 is. It's already like 2 seconds to disarm, so that needs to be shored up. It needs to take longer to disarm her traps. And then Bomb Squad could take 2.5 seconds all at once at that point. But one last thing I mentioned to Nancy's traps will be the prompt for victims to disarm it with a bone scrap. For some reason, the same prompt to disarm her trap with a bone scrap is the prompt you get to run it as a victim. So this is fine with Hitchhiker as his traps lock you in place. Nancy's traps only temporarily lock you in place. and then you can move around with them. If you're getting chased by Leatherface and you have a trap on, and you're trying to sprint, your, of course, first instinct is going to press, let's say, X for PlayStation to remove that trap. That's going to immediately lock you in place to disarm the trap and get you killed. This needs to either lock out your ability to sprint, or they need to completely get rid of the change the button. I'm sorry for you to disarm the trap. Maybe not the lockout sprint. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that, but again, they definitely need to just move the prompt to a different button for you to disarm that trap. There's plenty of buttons that aren't used in this game, even on victims, so that shouldn't be any problem at all. It's just I really don't want to die muscle memory trying to sprint away from someone when I'm trapped going through a gap and then die because again, for some reason I tried to sprint and disarm the trap me with the bone scraper happen to have and just die, but I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. Another thing I also want to mention, getting back to her spy ability, I forgot about this earlier, but I'm going to bring it up here. There is something wrong with Nancy's spy ability. For some reason, Nancy's spy ability has some sort of bias towards revealing Anna, especially if she's in the basement. I've done multiple tests on this, and every single time I've spied on Anna and she's been in the basement, I swear it has brought her up. There's been times where I've spied on Anna, knocked her down a well, spied, and immediately it spies back on Anna again, which I did not want because I know she's in the base. I don't care where in the basement she is. She's not upstairs, so it doesn't matter. So if we could have Gunn look into that and see why in the hell Nancy's obsessed with Anna, that'd be great. um, Besides that, only other thing I can really think of that really needs to be tweaked on Anna. Geez, now even I'm obsessed with Anna now. Only thing that needs to be fixed with Nancy is going to be her perk tree. Her skill tree is just ridiculously just underwhelming. Never mind the fact that it's super linear. There's only really three paths: left, up, and right, and then it immediately kind of branches into the same path that all three sides takes, where you go left or right. You get the same perks. Nancy's missing a lot of crucial perks, not just with grandpa perks. For example, she doesn't get grip or exterior alarms. Same thing with hands, and I don't understand why. But she's missing a lot of perks like serrated. I don't think she gets activated. Like she only gets like two savagery perks up there. And it's just like overall it feels like something is missing from Nancy's tree. Like it doesn't feel as full as a lot of the other characters. Like if I were to go bring an image of Leatherface's tree compared to Nancy's, it's laughable. You can see like all of Nancy's tree just by zooming out. Leatherface, you can't do that. You have to go all over the place, and it's the same for many other family members. Hell, I think even Sissy's tree is much bigger than that, and I think Sissy has a pretty small and underwhelming tree too. She's right behind Nancy. The only reason why I haven't made a Sissy Rework video is I basically already did that like 3 times already, so I already know what I would like to see changed on her. So if we were to go ahead and look at some of these sticks, this would be huge for Nancy's tree. Two perks that are notably missing from Nancy and Hans's tree as well, again, two DLC family members, is all warmed up and rage. For those of you who do not know what the hell those perks are or what they do, they give you back some of your ability bar from either hitting a victim or grappling. That goes by those perks. They're two separate perks, but moving on. Those would be great on Nancy and hell, even hands. Hell, it'd be broken on hands, but again, they're only available on Cook and Johnny, who can't even really get good use out of it because, again, they don't need a full ability bar to use them. Those two do, so being able to fill it up faster would be helpful. And we also get to her unique perk, which is half the reason why I feel like she's missing so many things. Like, if you don't want to have her being able to run poison claws and serrated, sure, I don't care. Just put them on two different sides of the tree. It's something we've definitely seen before, but it still needs to be an option for her. Her right side of the tree is pathetic. There's nothing over there but a bunch of harvesting perks. One of them is sip sip sip, which I've said once, I'll say again, is trash unless you run it with surgical. And her again, her unique perks are just all like so bad. Like most of them have to do with her traps, and they're all mediocre. The one that makes it so it takes longer for them to what is it? Wait a second, get out their traps. That's fine. I mean, it was pretty laughable when they nerfed it, and then they didn't keep in mind that it's like 15 seconds going through the animation and then them standing up. So the weighted second per literally did nothing. But again, stuff like hurt them, it does so little extra damage that it's useless on its own. So unless they buff the numbers on it, that perk does nothing. Even then, it needs to be 100% extra damage because 50% of 15 is still only 7 points of damage. That's nothing. Either, again, Hurtum's numbers need to be super boosted or needs to do bleed damage like Hitchhiker's traps. They could probably even justify adding a placement speed into it as well, so it can do more than just damage. You actually have some function if they don't go into the traps at all. Again, function at least as area denial, if not a tool to actually damage a victim who goes through it. So we have Hey Sissy and Give Me More. Those two perks basically do the same thing as far as I can tell. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what they mean by regeneration rate and cooldown delay. One thing I think with the cooldown delay is the thing where for a second after you use the ability, it doesn't charge at all. But one thing I would have mentioned is just the Hey Sissy blur effect. No one seems to understand what that is. They talk about how it could be good, but don't use it. It basically blurs your screen after you get out of the ability. Nancy goes through a short stun, and it just gives you a really nauseating effect to the screen. I do not recommend using it. I don't suffer from vertigo or anything like that, but I literally felt sick after using that perk. It got to the point where I didn't even want to use Nancy's ability when I was leveling that perk up just for the sake of saying I leveled it up. So I feel like they could either delete Hey Sissy or they could make that allow her to reload quicker at the stations. How they even make it do that and add Virginia's hands-off effect to it, so that way she could stop Sissy or Virginia from reloading at powders that she reloaded from. I think that'd be a good change to that perk. There are some perks Nancy has on her stuff that are fine, like of course Poison Claws, I'll kill them all, or not that easy. Those things don't really have anything I'd really want to fix anything about. I think they're fine. I mean, again, they can I'm sorry, maybe and combine some effects to it. Combine these perks just so she doesn't have like 11 perks. you know, just make things a little bit more packaged together. Like I could definitely see something where she plays the trap style faster and they're tougher to get out being a combined thing. I feel like Trapper from DBD has add-ons to do stuff like that. So yeah, that'd be nice. That I'm just doing literally one thing, that's it, and them being kind of the RG. If they don't even go into the trap, it doesn't matter. They get out of them faster, stuff like that. But Ding Dong, that perk needs to be deleted as it does exactly what Dinner Bell does, except of course there's no louder sound notification from that bell. But who cares about that when you just flat out see their aura? Like even Ding Dong says you will see their aura from a further distance. Like it's just stupid. That perk does basically nothing, and I'm sorry, they weren't thinking when they designed it. They forgot another perk exists. It's kind of like what they did with Artful Dodger. There was already a perk that does exactly what Artful Dodger does, minus the whole seeing an aura. What is it? The family when you go through the cross space, or whatever the hell it is. No one's using that perk, so I leveled up. Don't know what it does. I just know it does the same thing as another perk Danny had that reveals cross spaces. But again, besides that, I feel like that's really all they need to really change with Nancy. Uh, I guess pins and needles, it could maybe have a higher number as I use pins and needle all the time, and if I'm lucky I'll save maybe one trap per game. Sometimes I'll get one good game where I have like 9 of them up, but those are few and far between. So unless they tweak the numbers on that, they can honestly just make it so it just saves Nancy's traps the first 3 times she puts them down at, of course, level 3, and then after that she actually starts using them. So I don't know if how they'd be able to effectively give her 3 extra charges of traps without it having a big cluttered screen of you having 6 bars worth of traps or whatever. But again, besides that one little thing, that's it. I can't really think of anything else I missed with Nancy. If I did, I'm going to do another video talking about changes I want to see the family and victim in a week or two, as I feel like there's still some more things that I missed at all in my last 2 videos I put out. going over the changes over on the C to the game. So thank you guys so much for putting up with me stammering and stuttering my way through this video. I don't have a script I read off of, but I do rehearse some of these things, and sometimes it just don't come out right. But again, I thank you guys so much for watching this video, and tune in for the next video. Since I don't see any mortal times or any kind of updates from Gun on content coming soon. I'm going to do a video I wanted to do a very long time ago, and I'm actually kind of glad I waited as the hacker epidemic has gotten worse. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that was spoiler enough as to what my next video is going to be about. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And as always, if you haven't already, get a life.